Jesus says, blessed are you when you get to the end of you. It's a pretty vulnerable moment. I will say for those of us, for a lot of us, let's just say. Guys, we stink at this, but for a lot of us, blessed are you when you get to the end of you and say, I can't do this. Because God does his best work. He'll move in close. The presence of God shows up. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. By far, whenever we've asked people and surveyed people, this is the number one, this is the one people have the most trouble with because it just sounds so wrong. It's so, what are you talking, really, Jesus? Really? I'm blessed when I'm in mourning? Now listen to me. When you're going through a struggle, when you're going through a season or a storm of loss, when you are mourning the loss of something, Jesus is not saying here that that's a blessing in disguise. I think that's the wrong semantics. Jesus is straight up telling you, this is an explicit admission that life in this world is going to push you around at times. It's going to do something at times. You're going to experience loss because something is not going to go the way you want it to. Something is not going to happen the way you thought it would. You're going to lose a relationship. You're going to lose a person. You're going to lose an opportunity. And you will be thrown into a season of mourning. Now, depending on how big of a deal that is, it could be for a day. It could be for an hour. It could be for a prolonged season. But Jesus says in those moments, there is a blessedness that can show up. We need to talk about this for just a second. The first thing I would have you to do at the very top of the funnel of this conversation is admit the hurt. In some ways, we're right back to the previous one. You have to admit that you are hurting. You have to admit that there is something, a cost that is being exacted from your soul because you care. Oftentimes we try to just do this superficial thing where we try to convince people, no, I'm okay. I don't need your help. I don't want your help. I'm not comfortable with the attention. I'm okay. I've got this. And it's a lie. We tell lies to ourselves. We tell lies to others. And here's what really bothers me. We who are Christians are sometimes the worst offenders. We use these Christian-y terms, and we like people to think that we kind of just, stick our chest out into the wind, and we picture this cape flapping behind us, and I'm a superhero of my faith. I have got this. You don't have it. I don't have it. You got to have the guts to stay in the conversation long enough to actually listen and express what you're going through. Now, some of us right now are mentally saying, I just checked out. Man, I don't want to go through this. This is a downer. I need you to know this is the reality of the Beatitudes. This is how it works. Part of what Jesus is saying here is admit what you're struggling with. I am so frustrated with a kind of teaching that is out there that says, not only do you have to just pretend this way, you can't even say it out loud, because if you say it out loud, you'll make it worse. In fact, you just have to say things that you want to happen. You just got to say positive things. Don't you ever say anything about how you're really struggling. Nothing could be further from the truth. Blessed are those who admit the struggle and cling to God. Amen. You see how, different that is than the superficial way we live? We live in a world, according to the Bible, that is stained and polluted by sin. And sometimes we are the ruined ones. And there will be moments where our hearts are the ones that are broken. But when we come to God with our open hands and our heavy hearts, Jesus says, I will give you my presence. You will not be alone. I will give you, watch this. One of the ways God will give you his presence is through the community of other loving followers. So you don't do this alone. And that means we can grieve without giving into hopelessness.